So what I've got here is just a simple pencil case with coloring pencils. These happen to be water soluble. And I do have a paintbrush. I do have some watercolor supplies here, very basic. And we might not even get to that, but let's open a page and just relax for now. Just a couple of minutes, that mindful page through to whatever you want to color in tonight. You'll notice I have filled in some of the pages. All right, my first available page is the Angel Trumpet. And wherever you are in your journal, just grab that page and let's talk about creativity and gratitude. Now, the way I've seen this connection happen is when I immerse myself in thought, not necessarily to eliminate thought, but to be a little bit more constructive, a little more geared towards thinking clearly. It became really apparent that this mindful coloring practice really helped my brain to settle in and unwind. And the reason why that is so important is because we cannot think in a cluttered mind. So let's bring you down a little closer to my working space, just so that you can see what's happening. I wish I had the technology and the know-how to have multiple screens open, but right now I just don't have the bandwidth to learn anything new. So this creative practice helps you to settle your mind, to also gain a little bit of clarity, to calm that central nervous system, and to also engage in another part of the brain where we almost tap into our childhood. Now, when we were children, we would color in all the places and color on top of all the surfaces. And it didn't even matter. And unless you had a mum that was really upset about you coloring all over the place, I would not even worry about coloring anywhere you want to right now. So I saw this morning when my daughter showed me her homework book that she jotted down little words and squiggly drawings in the margins of her homework book. And it got me thinking that if a child has the capacity to tap into their creative side by drawing little drawings on the margins inside a logical thinking homework book, then in that moment, she must have needed some comfort or distraction or some way to ease her distress. And that makes me really happy that she had that presence of mind to go into that calmer place and, do something other than act out like most other children. And I'm not saying this because she's my daughter. I'm just saying it because I noticed that that is something she reverts to when she's feeling stressed or worried or sometimes even lost in the logical brain conversations, is that redirection of her attention into something else. So some of the benefits of creativity in a gratitude practice, not only to distract you, of course, not only to calm your mind, but also to become present in the moment. I know I'm talking right now while we are in this practice, but when you are alone and you pinch off 15 or 20 minutes to relax and be with your own thoughts, then something happens in that moment. And in that moment, you get to see another part of your own mind in action. And that gear setting thoughts in motion is exactly what you need to figure things out. So I heard from someone in our community earlier today that she feels like she doesn't have a say in her own life, like everything is being dictated for her, that she's always having to listen to managers and bosses and supervisors above her. And it feels like she can never make any choices for herself. And what did I suggest? Well, I suggested that she takes up a creative practice like this one, because in that moment where you are alone with your own thoughts, alone with whatever you are coloring in, alone with a mindful practice, you get to make every single choice there is to make. There isn't anyone else deciding what color goes where, how you're going to color it in, if you're going to layer the colors, if you're going to go over the lines, if it's right or wrong. It's only you inside those pages, in that place where you get to unwind. And who cares what color you make your flowers? The only thing that matters is that you are taking the time to tap into another part of your mind. So what I'm doing here is I just took a little bit of water on a brush, and I'm melting these watercolor coloring pencils. Now they do give a lovely melting watercolory effect, opposed to some of the more scratchy lines from the regular coloring. Let me melt some of those lines next to an area that I didn't melt and show you again. It sort of enhances the color and brightens it up. Now, of course, none of this is technically correct, because this is my playtime tonight, where I also get to tap into the other side of my mind. So, this month in the gratitude practices and the busyness of life, a lot of things happened. And while we are busy, we sometimes forget that self-expression is part of our human nature. And some days you might be exhausted from all the things you've attempted, or all the things you've done, all the things you've put on your plate. And it's in that time that self-expression relates to your emotional state. And your emotional state can easily be shifted or moved or changed if you spend a little bit of time in your mindful practices alone. Because our alone time gives us a moment to reflect. There are no other voices, no demands on our lives, and nothing else we need to listen to except that inner voice. And hopefully you manage to not listen to the critical part too much, and can be kind to yourself inside that cavity where life could explode or expand or express itself. it wouldn't be a nice idea if you had to be in there and you were your own worst nightmare. So it boils all the way down to what is going on in that mind of yours. Where are all those thoughts leading? How can you rein them in? And how can you help yourself manage that? And I'm not saying we have to control every second of our minds. We simply cannot do that. The same way we cannot switch off completely. And I also don't think our brains were designed to switch off. I think if we really had to be in that whole present serenity and bliss moment, we'd have no emotion. And what would happen if we had no emotion? Will we feel anything? Will we be able to experience joy? Will we lose track of time? What really happens in that moment of 100% surreal, serene serenity? And even though, as much as I would love to reach that state, I don't think I want to feel nothing for too long. Because feeling nothing for too long might be a little bit scarier than feeling everything that I don't really like. And for me, that thought of no mind, an empty mind, is almost too scary to even contemplate. And I know in many of the holistic practices, that is the aim, that is the reason why many people do mindful practices. But I don't know if that is really where I want to go with any type of mindful practice. I heard a story from a man named Andy Shaw, and you can Google him. Now, he had a program called A Bug-Free Mind, and he taught that to many schools and to his children and to business colleagues. And what it basically boiled down to was that if you can hold a thought for 30 seconds or more, then you are in full control of your mind. Now, you can test yourself on this. Set your mobile phone, not now, later, not now, later. Set your mobile phone on a timer for 30 seconds and try and think of one single thought and hold that thought for a full 30 seconds. You're not allowed to have your mind wander into any other areas, into any other thing. You can even ask somebody to help you by letting them mention the thing you want to focus on. And just notice and monitor how quickly your focus moves to other subjects or to other topics. And Andy says that in that moment where you have full control of your mind, where you can hold a thought for 30 seconds, you could literally manifest anything in that moment. And it reminds me that our brains are like this massive machine churning out one thought after the other. And without considering whether you like it, whether you want to keep it, whether it is something useful or helpful, your brain just spits it all out and leaves it up to you to interpret. And that is where the big problem comes in, is we place a certain interpretation on certain aspects. And because I have one interpretation for something and somebody else has an interpretation for something with a different viewpoint, it doesn't mean that any one of us will be wrong. It just means that we think about things a little bit differently. And it's in that difference that we can learn from each other, not judge the other person why they have a different thought or be in conflict with seeing an alternative way of thinking, but to step into that just for a few minutes and see, test it out, feel if that might be something worthwhile listening to. I am by no means the expert on anything, even though I sometimes feel I need to be. But I always have this idea in my mind that I want to come to any place with enough emptiness so that I can learn, instead of going there all full and not enjoying the whole experience. And I think a lot of that is how I perceive mindfulness as well. It's not about only fostering a deep appreciation for small moments or to boost overall happiness and reduce stress. I think it is about tapping into the thing you're doing, whether you are writing, whether you are drawing, whether you are doing art, photography, music, cooking, whatever it is you do, that thing is helping you paint a picture of the life you want to live. And if we are critical in that mind and judging our every move and not being our own best friend, we lose track of how we can help ourselves. And we become lost in those moments where we begin to believe all the things that are not true about our own journey. I'm often drawn to this mindful act of cooking in particular because we love cooking as a family, not always together. There's not enough room in my little kitchen for that. But the act of making something special for somebody else to eat, the act of being present and sharing, talking about our day, giving each other comfort, hearing what happened in the other person's life is almost something that has sort of disappeared in our homes because there's always this distraction with other things. And having a cooked meal with loved ones feels like some mindful thing we could do together. And also because doing that means I'm feeding my family, I'm nourishing their bodies, I'm nurturing their most basic need, and that is to have food. And for the same reason, I love cleaning my home because I know my family will come home tonight or this afternoon and we will all enjoy the benefits of a home that is taken care of. Someone said a while ago that they don't even bother anymore. They'll do it every now and then, or when something gets in their way, they'll sort of clean that spot in their home. And then I wondered to myself, why on earth would somebody not want to take care of their living spaces, of their environment, of the place where they get to be themselves or experience some aspect of life that is so deeply and truly unique and sacred in a sense. Um, it blows my mind that they lost that need to take care of their home. And I wondered if this beautiful human had a critical partner, and because of that, might not feel appreciated. And even if it is your job to clean the house or to do the laundry or to be with your children or to, I don't know, all the things we assume is our jobs. What if we could look at it as something we want to do because we care about the other person? We care about the people who is receiving it on the other end. What if we could change our minds and do that with an attitude of gratitude? I once mentioned that I would sometimes feel so upset that I had to wash my daughter's dirty socks. And then I realized she played outside and had fun. Who am I to now be angry that her socks got dirty? Couldn't I enjoy the fact that she had fun? And the minute I did that, the minute I changed my mind about the dirty socks and started experiencing it from a point of what it meant to her in the moment that she made the socks dirty, did I realize that it is not the way we see things, it's the way our attitude is towards those things that really affect it the most. And if we could see and could tap into that in every aspect, I believe we could find a million things every day we could be grateful for. And I'm not by any means excusing anyone's bad behavior by bringing it back to, oh, I should be so grateful because. As there simply is no excuse for those who treat us less than kind. And if they can't see the benefits of seeing how to be grateful, or at least try and be a little bit grateful, then I am not going to push that on them. You see, the things that happen in my life is my business. And whether that person is in it or not, their attitude and their interpretation is their business. And I don't have a place or a say in how they perceive life. It's up to them to figure that out for themselves. And it's often sad or hurtful to see those people suffer because they can't see gratitude or they can't experience joy. But the minute I start interfering, they will probably pull back. And it's in that moment where they pull back that the battle is almost lost. So we can fight thunder with thunder, but some thunder bring rain and others bring lightning. If we can keep that in mind, we'll be so much better at bringing the right kind of thunder to the party. I don't want a week to go by and then forget to tap into gratitude, because by the time the end of the month comes near, I might be too exhausted to even think of the things I could be grateful for. So, a daily gratitude practice, sometimes in mindful moments, or sometimes a dedication to gratitude, is a way to emphasize how much impact such a practice could have in not only building your creativity, but also your overall well-being. All right. Thank you for being here. We are looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow with a new coloring page and some more insights.